ideas are still popping into my mind, so may as well get them down on tape as not. And this one is about the fad in the world that there is these days, and I think it's down to social media mostly, of elevating the bizarre to viral status. I think there's something fascinating in that. Social media very much makes that very possible, to elevate something that happens somewhere in the world that is bizarre into the mainstream. Now, this is fantastic in many cases because you get to see things that you would never see ordinarily. You know, like a cat falling off a bench. You know, that's funny because I never see our cat doing that. You know, but I can jump onto the internet and see a cat go to jump from a chair onto a bench, something a cat normally has no trouble doing. But on this one occasion in a million, someone's caught a cat doing that and missing the bench, misjudging it, and falling off. And that's amazing. Because if you plotted how many times a cat does that, because they're very sure-footed and good at judgment and all that sort of stuff, but if you were to plot it on a bell curve, the amounts of times that a cat, for example, is just walking along the top of a fence and just falls off. You're not going to see that in real life. And it's fantastic how. Now, if you plotted that on a bell curve, the number of instances in which a cat falls off a fence while it's just on a still day with no wind and, it's just walking along the top of a fence and then just falls off. That would be way, way over in the skinny bit of the bell curve. It's unlikely. But social media can put that in front of your face and, it can become viral. And if you see enough of those sorts of videos, you start to imagine in your mind that cats are a little bit clumsy, whereas they're not. But it can alter your perception of cats and how sure-footed they are. Now, that's harmless, that one. In fact, it's fun. A little bit unfair on cats. But where it gets a little bit weird, this effect, where the bizarre is elevated to become something that's that seems, in your perception, to be something that's worth being shocked about. Where this becomes a problem, I think, is look, let's put it this way. The shocking is not shocking. Somewhere in the world, someone is doing something that you would consider shocking. But it's not shocking that somewhere in the world someone is doing that. In fact, it's absolutely to be expected, and actually you'd be shocked if somewhere in the world no one was doing that thing. I don't know what that thing is. Let's say, a father of 6 kids, goes and takes his kids up to the top of a building and throws them all off, something like that, Now, now, if that were to be put up on Facebook, that example, rather than respond to that in a sort of slightly devastated state of resignation that sort of thing happens, because that would be the logical response to something like that, whenever, ever since I read Medea, who the ancient Greek play, Euripides' Pants, I think wrote that one. Ever since I read that, I've always thought, that was one of my books at school that I had to study. When I read that as a younger person, it occurred to me, and I think this is something to do with what my English literature teacher was telling me too, that, matricide, no, not matricide, what is that? Infanticide, is it? The mother, she killed her children to get back at her husband, Jason. All right, so she killed her children just to make him hurt. All right, now, my first instinct is to say, "Oh my God, I can't believe she did that," But as I was studying that play was written something like 2,300 years ago or something. So this, clearly, this sort of thing has been happening forever. It's normal. Whereas people, in their minds' eyes, tend to think of such things as unnatural or not normal. And when you do get an example of such a thing advertised, let's say, or elevated on social media, my reaction to that, if I was on social media, would be to just kind of get sad and say, there it is again. But what you do get instead on social media, and I think it is a social media thing, is streams and streams of comments of people getting absolutely shocked. Now, I think that's, I don't think that's wrong to say that that's what's happening. That's what happens. I think you do get that. Because I can't believe that. Oh, this is shocking, and all this sort of stuff. Whereas my reaction to that would be, if I saw, like that example before, a father, and we've had that. Look, every year in Melbourne, we have an absolutely unbelievable, unnatural example, a news item of someone killing their kids or whatever, chucking them off the Westgate Bridge or something like that, this poor mother drove her car into a lake and drowned her kids. And I think we also had a father do that too. We had a mother and a father doing that. There were extenuating circumstances. I think the mother was highly stressed, and I think the father was nuts, and wanted to get back at his wife, perhaps. I can't remember the exact details of every case, but if that father, whoever he was, killed his children to get back at his wife, is that something to be shocked about? When you know that there's an ancient Greek play that deals in that exact subject matter, Medea, which I mentioned earlier. It's not something to be shocked about. It's something to expect. As horrible as that is, the fact that we have to expect such things every year, they can't be stamped out. It'll continue forever. Every year, in every major city in the world, you're going to get examples of this. But the funny thing about social media is it encourages people into an unnatural reaction, what I would call an unnatural reaction, in viewing these things as unnatural. When they are completely natural, and you can get less dramatic and less tragic examples of this in action. For example, I've just been talking about this one with my goddaughter tonight. People who, in the age of coronavirus, the age we're in right now, rarely getting on their high horse is, there are multiple people, so multiple horses, and refusing to wear masks. When the wearing of masks has been mandated by the government, for example. All right, now, you can be horrified about that and shocked that I can't believe there are people that would refuse to wear the mask, You can have that reaction, especially when it's put up in front of you on social media, and you say, oh, look at that, I can't believe that, look at her. But I think, for example, people in government themselves, before they make rules such as thou shalt wear a mask as of midnight Wednesday, they know all about statistics. They know with absolute certainty that there are going to be people in the skinny bits of a bell curve. Statistically speaking, it's a guarantee that there are going to be examples of people acting in what appears to ordinary people a bizarre way of acting. So for everyone in the main body of the bell curve, people who are acting in the skinny bits, left and right, well, to the right, in the way I'm imagining a bell curve, the people in the middle look at those people over in the skinny bits and say, I can't believe you're doing that. But I think smart people in the middle of the bell curve, would instead look at those people who are ranting and raving on Facebook or whatever that they won't wear a mask and they'd rather go to jail and all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. I think smart people in the middle of the bell curve, they see a post like that on Facebook and they say, oh, there's no surprise. We were bound to get a post like that on Facebook. That was absolutely expected, and I am not surprised at all. Let's just deal with those people. In fact, I'm sure the government is already prepared for those people and has a strategy in place. And my goddaughter made that point too. Tonight, she said exactly that. She said, "This doesn't shock me that there are people like this. I'm simply saying that let's deal with them the way we always were going to deal with such people, even before we got the law going on wearing face masks, for example, in the current example, that sort of thing." So, in summary, I think that social media tends to sensationalize the bizarre, the absolutely extraordinary. It tends to sensationalize the extraordinary, when actually the extraordinary, the rare time that a cat falls off a fence, well, in a large enough population size, a large enough population of cats walking along fences, in a world where there are movie cameras everywhere in telephones now, the extraordinary is no longer that extraordinary. It's absolutely to be expected because everything is videoed these days, and so the extraordinary becomes mundane and to be expected, and one is almost rendered unshockable, given that there are so many cameras in the world now. I'm sure there are billions of cameras. If someone back in when I was young, when very few people had movie cameras, caught a cat falling off a fence, well, then I would be shocked. But now, the shocking is no longer shocking, and the extraordinary is now mundane.